Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks again for being here. So I have not put up a video in a little while. Things have been busy. I've been busy in the garden, and I'm going to give you guys an update on what it's looking like since I planted my seedlings and the different stages of how my garden has been looking like until actual today. Today's footage I will add at the end of the video and you can see what it currently looks like. So this is March 27th. These are what my seeds look like. I couldn't plant a ton of seeds, but I planted what I could in my small space indoors, and that way there was less for me to buy overall later on. And some of them really worked out really well, and others did not grow at all. So really, I tried my best and I used up what I could. I was really impressed with the Ziploc method because everything grew really nice in the Ziploc bags. So in April 2nd, this is a clip from there. You can see I put a banana peel underneath my rose bush because apparently they like banana peel. So every so often I throw a banana peel there and let it kind of decompose. And yeah, I was just kind of evaluating to see what came back from the year before because we did have kind of a crazy fall and spring. I was just curious to see if things survived, and most of the things did. My bee balm didn't do the greatest coming back in one area, but that's fine because it's booming in another one. And at things like my thyme, I had also put on little seedlings. I don't know if you can see, but it's covered up with plastic like a container, and that is where my seedlings are. And I just want to protect them because we did have really cold days, so I was just kind of keeping them a little bit warmer with the plastic on top. And that's just one of those pot things you put underneath the pot, but I just used it on top like a little dome. And yeah, again, I was evaluating what was coming back. So this is my pineapple mint. Pineapple mint started coming back really nicely, really early. The lavender was not cleaned up properly the year prior. So, you know, in the fall, I should have cleaned it up properly, but it was really weird. The weather, you know, was really nice and it stayed nice for a long time. And then all of a sudden winter hit us super fast. So I didn't get a chance to clean it the way I wanted to. So I went ahead and cleaned it now in the spring. And then, yeah, things are coming up really nicely. So this is the stinging nettle, and that was coming up nicely. So last year, the stinging nettle came up in summer, which is really weird because you want to try to harvest it in the spring before that really, really strong heat hits it, because that's when it's at its most potent, and you can have it all the time, but that is when it's at its optimal. So I was really happy to see that the stinging nettle came on time when it's supposed to for this year. So the garden was tilled and ready to go at this point as well, so that when we felt that it was safe to do so, we can go ahead and plant. So here in Ontario, at least in Toronto, we tend to do it on Victoria weekend, Victoria long weekend at the end of May. But I put in my stuff a little early. I believe it was the 18th. 18th that we put it in, which is a little early, but since my backyard tends to be really warm, I thought it was pretty safe for me, but I know that other people definitely waited a little bit longer because of our crazy weather. So I do have a lot of containers with herbs and stuff. So that is, you know, another thing that I was checking on to see, did things come back? And yeah, like things, you know, like thyme did come back, rosemary came back a little bit, and I got a little bit of sage coming back, so that was nice. And then of course my flowers that come back every year, they were just put in this container just because these are like lilies. I ran out of space in my garden, so I just put them there, and it's really nice actually. I relocated that container to the front yard just because it's really pretty at the doorway. And then the strawberries decided that they were going to make a comeback, which I was surprised about. So a tiny little bit came back, so I was really happy about that. But I did go ahead and plant a little bit more strawberry, which I will show you guys in a few minutes. So I did most of my planting on May 18th, but I did put in a few things a little bit later, like a few days later. This is the callaloo, which I had never found before, but my friend had told me about it, and she said it's kind of like a spinach. And it, you can use it in soups and stuff like that. So, and it's very nutritious. So I thought, let me try it if I can find it. But I had never seen it before in previous years. But of course, I went to the garden center and there it was this year. So I decided to try it. All I had was this container that was left for space. So it is a little bit tight. There is a little bit too much going on in here. But I decided to try it anyway because it's the best that I can do right now. So here are the strawberries that came back from last year, and then my son also planted some more on the other side. These containers are quite large, so they do really well for growing. Now I did put tomato plants in some containers as well because I ran out of room. So I don't normally do tomato plants in containers. This is the first year that I'm doing that, but when you live in a small space and you're an urban gardener, you do what you got to do. So let's see how these grow. So the other new thing that I had planted this year that I never planted was sugar snaps. So let's see how those grow. I'll let you guys know. I did put upside down tomato cages on this side of the garden just so that they have something to climb onto after, and hopefully we can kind of contain them. So I'll let you guys know if this strategy worked or not for my small space gardening. And yeah, I just thought, it would just save me from building something else. It's just super easy to use those. So I also have beans along the back of the fence, and they are staked, but they do have the support of the fence to grow on because my backyard grows a lot of beans. Last year we had so many beans, they kept on coming and they literally did not stop until it got cold. So I anticipate the same thing this year, that we're going to do really well with beans. So they needed a lot of space to grow on. The other thing that does really well in the garden are cucumbers, so I did plant them along here, and that way they have that fence to kind of grab onto. And in the middle I have kale, so in the middle and towards the right side of the garden there's lots and lots of kale. Kale does really well in the garden as well. I do want to add some plain wood chips to the garden just in between the rows because I find it cleaner and easier just to get my vegetables after to step into. And they also, hold the water that from the garden, and they'll release it when necessary, so you don't have to water it as much. And then I have, more sugar snaps along this side, and they're going to grow on this little thing that I built with just some wood and some stakes. And then I also have one bean plant on this side because that's my son's bean that he grew, so I want to distinguish it from the other one, so I placed it on this side. And yeah, it's a lot, I think, right? Like for a little tiny garden, I planted a lot. Maybe too much, because sometimes when you plant too much, you're going to stunt the growth on your veggies because there's just too much going on. But I'm just doing it because I already bought it and I already had it and I didn't want to waste it. So let's see how everything grows, and I'll keep you guys posted on that. So yeah, more tomatoes in planters, and like I said, most of them are pretty decent sized, but there's a couple that are kind of small, so I don't know what's going to happen with those ones. They may not even grow, but we'll see. And then I have some seedlings for like spinach and stuff, and some like baby Siberian kale, but I don't know if any of that's going to grow because I have a squirrel that's been digging like crazy, and I think that's impacting the growth of these guys. So I don't know, usually the squirrels don't bother my garden, but they seem to only want that planter. I don't get it. Yeah, and then more tomatoes in another really large planter. And that's more of the pineapple mint growing. And I also have some of the lemon balm in the corner of the gardens there, and then I also have it in one other spot in the flower bed as well. And then I have a lot of lavender that has really started growing really well since I cleaned everything up. And I also put some orange mint in here as well, just for a variety because I make my own tea blends, just to have a few different things to make. Yeah, let's see how it turns out. Let's see if I even like it. Hopefully I do. today, this is how my garden looks. It is flourishing. The rain has really helped to make everything really vibrant, and it's already growing tremendously. So I do have a few extra tomato plants in places that I'm not really happy with, but I had extra seedlings and I didn't want to waste them. So they are in pots next to the callaloo here. I don't know if they're going to grow properly because they're in little containers. So we're going to find out. So the lettuce is growing really well in these containers. I think it's going to work really well for my needs. Now the collards, I prefer them in the ground, but I did not have room in the ground, so plan B was put them in a large container. So they won't grow to their optimal because there are too many in here, but whatever I can get I'm happy with. So, and they are growing really nicely. I also have on the end, it's all different herbs in there, and that's growing really well. So I have like parsley and cilantro, and I have a little bit of the sage that came back. Yeah, so and everything seems to be growing nicely, so I'm pretty happy. The herbs are also growing really well. I have oregano growing in a small pot, and then in these large pots I have cilantro, parsley, and I also have sage in there. So yeah, everything is growing really good. I also like plants underneath these really big planters, just so it's not all open soil, because we do have the bulldog. I don't want him digging under there, but if he knows there's flowers there, he won't go near it. So I do have plants under there, and a friend of mine just gave me these ones that I transplanted. So I'm hoping that it turns into a nice little flower ground cover that's really nice. And I know he won't go in there once he sees the plants are there. So yeah, that's that. Everything's growing well. So we have the strawberries that you guys saw earlier, and then we have a whole lineup of hot peppers in really, really big containers. These are really huge, so they should work well for the hot peppers. And yeah, that's pretty much it on this end, just a lot of hot peppers. And then the tomato plants are doing well. They're growing really nice and tall and strong. The thyme is really kicking butt. It's coming back really nicely, and the thyme little seeds that I had planted in the small pot are growing really nicely. The lemon balm is growing pretty wonderful, and of course the pineapple mint is continuing to grow. Now that I cleaned up the garden, the lavender is super happy and doing really well, so I think it's going to look really pretty afterward when it's ready to bloom. You'll get a lot of that extra flowers because I did cut considerably, and it can produce more flowers now and grow nicer. It'll be stronger now that I got rid of all the old stuff. And then the orange mint as well. Let's see how that tastes, but that's growing really nicely. And then I have more lemon balm right in the back there, and that's growing really well for all my homemade tea blends. So I think overall everything is growing really well. It hasn't been in for that long, and I already see a big difference between each and every plant. So hopefully now we are getting quite a bit of rain, and I know that's going to help the plants grow really well. It is kind of a drag for us because we do really want that sunshine back, but I know that the plants need it, and they are going to thrive once this rain stops. And I really got to get my wood chips in because I really can't stand stepping into the garden and not having my wood chips. So that's going to be something that I'm going to be doing this weekend, and putting that in and just finishing off the garden. So I'd love to know what types of things you are growing in your garden, or if you have a balcony with containers, wherever it is that you are growing things. Let me know what you're growing and what is successful for you. I would love to know. Drop it in the comments below so that I can take a peek at what you guys are also growing. And I don't know, this is just an exciting time of year for me. I love this time of year. I'm really thriving and being outdoors, and there's nothing like, you know, eating whole food, plant-based, and growing your own food, because then you don't have to go to the grocery store so much. You know what's in your food, you know that you're not using pesticides on your food, and it's just such a great feeling. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I appreciate you being here this week. Health, joy, and positive vibes to each and every one of you, and I will see you in the next video.